Your closers aren't the reason you're missing your numbers. The biggest mistake investors make is assuming they already know why someone isn't performing. Today on the channel, I'm gonna show you the exact framework that we use to pinpoint the real issue so that you can stop guessing, stop having the same frustrating conversations, and start getting better results from your team. If you're new here, I'm Tiffany High. I'm the co-founder of Heels Homes and Results Driven REI alongside my wonderful husband and business partner, Josh High. And after experiencing well over 2,000 real estate transactions and coaching over 5,000 students nationwide, I can confidently say that we've made every mistake there is to make, and now we help investors just like you avoid them so that you can live in what I like to call option freedom. The ability to do what you want, when you want, with whoever the hell you want. Let's dive in. Most leaders tend to blame other people when numbers are missed or projects get dropped, etc. Often I'll see that closers aren't performing, or maybe someone becomes inconsistent and you automatically blame them, the leads, the market, or let's say that you have a virtual assistant. And if you're anything like me back in the day, I used to send 50 different things to them a day, and then the next day I'd be pissed and be like, I don't understand, why is this not done? When we blame other people, it feels satisfying in the moment, but the reality is it fixes nothing. And what happens is people start getting disgruntled, the team gets defensive, you're getting more frustrated, and nothing actually changes in the business. So we use a framework that helps remove all the conflict and the guessing of, is it a them problem or a me problem? So I wanna go over that framework, and I really encourage you guys to incorporate this into your company. It was game changing for me when I got this introduced to my company years ago. All right, so this framework is called Gapology, and there's a book out there, the latest edition, which by the way, I feel very blessed. They had me write the foreword for that book. Now, what is Gapology? It breaks down things into 3 different gaps. And a gap, guys, is simply just the distance between the result you want and the result you got, right? So where you are now and where you wanna be, there's a gap between, okay? And ultimately, research breaks performance gaps into 3 types of gaps. First is the knowledge gap. Do they know what to do and how to do it? Then there becomes the importance gap. Did I prioritize and communicate effectively for them to do the thing we need them to do? And then there's the action gap. And there's 3 things under there of, am I even building the culture that they should thrive into and want to do the thing I'm asking them to do? And this is the exact framework that we run inside of our own business across all departments. We also use it to manage contractors, virtual assistants. I even manage my relationship with it at home. And I can walk you through some really cool ways that it's helped me communicate better and more effectively in my home life with my spouse and my relationships, etc. So the first gap is what we call the knowledge gap. Now, this is a really important one, and I think a lot of people in our industry specific will realize that maybe the leader's the problem and not the contractor or employee. Because the first thing is do they actually know how to do what you want them to do exactly? So what I want you to do is ask yourself 3 questions. And ultimately, as we go through them, if any of them are unchecked, it's a you problem, not a them problem. So the first thing is, it's my job to put the right person in the right seat. So I better have a damn good interview process, recruiting, onboarding, all that, because ultimately, if I put the wrong person in the seat in the first place, it's a me problem, not a them problem. Second, did I actually onboard them? Or for example, let's just say it's a closer. Did I kind of throw them a script, role play it, tell them to shadow me, and then expect that to be onboarding? That's not effective onboarding. If we look at the closer role, for example, we have an entire 2-week process of videos, quizzes, assessments to make sure that they're retaining the information, and a full-blown hour-by-hour training system when they get onboarded. Now, what happens is people will come to our workshops or into our coaching sessions, and they'll be like, oh, I hired this guy 2 months ago and he's not performing, I might fire him. And I'm like, okay, well, if he hasn't performed since day 1 of being with you, my guess is we just never set them up for success to start with. How did you onboard them? Most times I find a gap immediately in the fact that they didn't onboard them properly, and it's our job to set them up for success, not their job. Then the third box is, am I training them? Okay, so let's just take the closer. We should be doing daily sales training, right? Not once a week, not whenever we feel like it. If we skip training, we fall off the process. And I don't know about you, but my average profit per deal floats between $25,000 and $30,000. So one missed opportunity is a lot of money. And really, guys, if any of the answer to the first 3 under knowledge gap is not checked, the gap's on you, not them. So if you're wondering if it's a them problem or a you problem and you recently onboarded them in the last 90 days and they're not performing, I'd really reflect on that. The second gap is called the importance gap. I'm actually gonna give you some spouse understanding of this. And there's 3 bullets under this as well. It's, did I prioritize it correctly? Did I communicate it effectively? And did I set clear expectations? So let me give you an example in my personal life. Let's just say I go to Josh and I say, hey, do you mind taking out the trash? And he'll say, yeah. And then an hour later, I'm like, Josh, why the hell haven't you taken out the trash? I asked you to take out the trash. And he'll be like, well, you didn't tell me when. Do you see where there's a gap in the communication? And so a lot of times what happens is we give employees or our contractors or our title company or virtual assistants things to do, and then we pile them up, and then when they're not done, we freak out and we're like, why can't people keep up? But the reality is we're not communicating effectively and setting clear expectations. So let me now go backwards and show you how I can communicate differently with my spouse so you can see the difference. So, hey Josh, we have guests coming over tonight at 7:30. If you don't mind, can you take out the trash tonight by 7:15? It smells, and I wanna make sure that the house is in good shape before they get here. And then he'll say yes or no. Do you see where I set a clear timeline? I prioritized it, told him why, and gave him clear expectations, right? Now, it won't be confusing if at 7:15 I follow up and he still hasn't taken the trash and I'm upset. The third gap is the action gap. And this one is almost actually entirely on you if it's not done right. So the 3 boxes under there are, first, did I create a culture in which they actually want to do what I'm asking them to do? So when we talk about phone sales, at least in our industry, right? We're not selling Ferraris. We are talking to highly distressed people going through crazy life situations, death, divorce, debt, financial problems, etc. We've decided personally that we wanted our phone sales team to be in a physical environment, mainly because it's kind of depressing to talk to people like that all day. And so we decided that we wanted to create a culture and an environment personally where there's music, high fives, fast training, fast communication, coaching, all that, so that they would thrive in an environment even though they're talking to people in tough situations. Whereas, let's just say you're a fully virtual operation, but you only check in with them at their weekly meeting or only manage them and communicate with them through Slack. Guys, that's not culture. That is not an environment where someone's gonna thrive and perform. And my guess is if you're only managing them over Slack and once a week meeting, then they're missing the boat on tons of deals anyways. So let's assume that you did build a culture that has core values, clear standards, a fun environment, high energy, right? Then the next one is commitment and accountability. We are big on a culture of accountability, which is why we're called results driven. So let's just say that my closer has a goal to get 8 deals next month. I'll say, hey, do you want me to hold you accountable to the minimum standard for the company, or do you want me to hold you accountable to your goal, the 8 deals? Only one of them I'm gonna hold you accountable to, and you're committing to one or the other. One gets you to your income goal, one gets you to the company's. I don't care either way, but I'm gonna get you to where you wanna go, which gets them bought in, right? Because I care about their income. It's very different than when I dictate how I'm holding you accountable, because they'll be like, that's not how I wanted it. But when you asked me to hold you accountable and you committed to this, now I can remind them like, hey, you asked for this accountability. People get more buy-in when they get to define what accountability and commitment looks like. And as a leader, I'm willing to come to their level and hold them accountable. But at the end of the day, once they define what that looks like, if they then choose not to do it, that is finally grounds for firing. So what is grounds for firing? If there is a gap, which by the way, guys, it's very normal. There's always gonna be gaps in the business every day, all day, with everyone in the company. It's natural, right? This is business, our job, and we make money by solving problems. And so, one, embrace gaps. So instead of diminishing people for mistakes, let's embrace it, because when people know that there's something that they don't know, we want them to let us know, like, it's okay, let's just close the gap. Whether it's a me problem, you problem, system problem, doesn't matter, we just wanna close the gap. Where the firing comes is, now I've gone through and I've checked every box. Like, I'll give you an example. So let's just say my closer does vague motivation and doesn't go deep into motivation, and they just kind of fall off the process, which is normal, it happens every so often. Just like Michael Jordan might fall off the process shooting free throws, and as their coach, we gotta rein him back in, practice, create a plan. So we'll get out the 9-box system, we'll do his call audits and we'll figure out, hey, the reason you're not hitting your performance metrics is because you stopped going deep into motivation. So we're gonna set the new priority. This is a priority. We're gonna set clear expectations. We want this fixed within 7 days. In the meantime, I am going to create a coaching and training plan. We're gonna execute it together. Can I get your commitment that 7 days is the day and you're gonna get back on process? And he says yes. Hey, how do you want me to hold you accountable to that? Hey, I want you to role play with me every morning. I want you to listen to a couple of my calls a day and just verify I'm back on track. Cool, I'll do that. 7 days is the deadline. Do you see how we take a collaborative approach through Gapology to then close the gap from where we are now to where we want to be as fast as possible? If you have a team and someone hasn't been performing correctly, I want to challenge you to go through the 9 boxes and ask yourself, are you following these boxes? Because if not, it's okay. We just need to self-identify that it is a leadership problem, and then let's create a game plan to rein it back in. I would hold on to like salespeople thinking, I don't know if it's because I didn't train them or I'm doing something wrong, but they're not performing, and then I'd sit on them for way too long, when the reality is maybe it was a them problem. I just haven't gone through the 9 boxes to feel confident that I'm making the right decision. So if your goal is to build a business that can consistently produce deals instead of depending on you for everything, by the way, I do have a free school community where Josh and I go live every single week. We answer all your questions and share the systems and processes that we actually use inside of our own business. From hiring and managing sales teams, marketing, operations, scaling, data, it's completely free, so no excuses. Well, I'm gonna put the link in the description of this video, and I'll see you inside.